Well, we're live. Well, on that note, yeah, I guess we're live. Welcome back. Another episode of Rubbin' Tubs. I believe we're now on episode 6, going into week 6 of college football. But yeah, anyways, tough week for me. One of the more embarrassing TCU losses in recent memory. But I know you had a pretty decent week, Cole, after that performance that Oklahoma put on. So, I mean, how are you feeling?
I feel good, man. That was a first half kind of scared me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Gave up. I think it was like two or three just huge chunk plays, just blown coverage. Where I think Key Lawrence did it first, where he went for the pick and he didn't go for the hit. Just a very easy like crossing route over the middle, and he went. Or actually, I think it was a post route. Yeah, I think the first one was a post route over the middle, and Key Lawrence went for the pick, and he ended up like behind the defender trying to get a pick, and the defender just went right in front of him. Easy catch. It was like
I
a
was I was gonna
40,
say,
50
dude.
plus yarder.
I,
But outside of, like two of those missed plays where it was just kind of chunks, second half came around, Oklahoma had a complete shutout in the second half. So they played how they've been playing in weeks past. Overall, I was happy with it.
Yeah, I know. I was telling you earlier how I think I'm probably putting Dylan Gabriel in my Heisman watch list, and I guess just to like give you some context, mine I'm probably gonna keep it within like 6 players going forward. So I haven't necessarily ranked them just yet. I mean, we can dive into that a little bit later, but I do think it's worth noting that he's probably in my top 6 this week just because, I mean, I'm looking at his stat line. Like, I didn't watch too much of the OU game because I forgot what other games were on at that time or when that even took place. But I saw he went 26 of 39, 368, 3 tubs, 1 pick. But then on the ground also had 8 rushes for 37 yards and 2 tubs for 5
Yeah,
touchdowns
and that
total.
that pick was not his fault either.
Yeah. I think, dude, oh
Um,
man, I like this is actually. I feel like this is like a good week to finally start talking about Oklahoma a little bit more, especially with like the Red River game next week.
mhm.
Um, I don't know how are you feeling? I guess going into that game.
um, I think I told you yesterday. I really hope Texas is number one in the country.
I don't know if they will be though. Like,
I mean,
well, okay, I know
I
Georgia barely scraped by. Who did Georgia? They barely scraped by. Was it
Auburn.
Auburn?
Yeah,
Okay, so but how
it was
did Michigan
basically
do?
last. I mean, Michigan did what they were supposed to do. They played
Yeah,
well.
dude, I don't know if they will, but I mean I guess like back to your point, like I could see like if they do put them in there, I guarantee you they're gonna keep getting number one votes though. Like we know that
Yeah, they
much.
will. But I mean, I think that if anyone deserves a number one spot right now, it probably is Michigan. I mean, they just um, blew Nebraska out in Lincoln
Bro,
just
I
yesterday.
man,
Oh my god, it wasn't even a game, dude. Oregon looks good. I'm looking at these like the top 10, and Oregon is better than a lot of these teams. I think Oregon's better than USC. I think Oregon's better than Washington. I mean, I personally would take Oregon over Ohio State. Oregon looks really good. I don't
dude.
know about Penn State is still like I'm still on the fence with Penn State,
Well, dude, another
but
thing going back to Oregon, so they have a bye week next week, but you want to know who? Because I'm going ahead 2 weeks now. You want to know who they play in 2 weeks?
is it USC?
No, they play at number 7 Washington.
Washington. Okay, okay.
So that game will probably give us because I think after seeing all of them play, because I know the Pac-12 is kind of stacked. Like we've been talking about this for kind of like weeks now about how like there's so many good Pac-12 teams that have good quarterbacks. But I think as it stands, those are probably the 2 best teams because I don't think USC has a defense that's capable of you know I don't know
USC
putting
doesn't have
on.
a defense capable of beating
I
honestly
don't
any
think
top 15 team.
it's a Lincoln Riley thing. Like I just think like he's always that's what we were talking about yesterday. Like he
Yeah.
wants to have explosive offenses, and I get that, and that's awesome. But he hasn't had the best track record when it comes to putting like really good defenses on the field. And for
No.
God knows why he's still riding with Grinch, but whatever. Maybe he's just loyal to his guys. But back to the
I think he's
point,
fucking his wife.
I do think Oregon has like the potential to have like a really good defense down the street. What'd you say?
I said I think he's fucking his wife.
Oh, you he
I
may
think
as well
Lincoln
be,
Riley
bro.
is just putting in work with Grinch's wife.
You think Lincoln Riley is messing with Alex Grinch's wife?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, maybe that's the only reason he's kept him around. We'll see, but dude, I don't know. I think that game will probably be a big indicator of like who the actual best team in the Pac-12 is. Because if someone ends up beating the
I
dog
think
shit
it
out
will
of the other
too.
one, if someone ends up beating the dog shit out of the other team, which I don't think will happen, like it'll probably be a close game. That team will probably. I'm gonna be riding with whoever that team is, but I think as it stands, I like Oregon a little bit more. I didn't know, or actually no. I mean, shit. I actually did see like how their two games panned out. In Washington, like barely scraped by Arizona, beat them by 7, and then Oregon ended up beating Stanford like 42-6. Like they clapped them, so they have maybe a little bit of momentum. They're also going to be coming off a bye week, so we'll see, man.
They USC is just I wouldn't I don't anticipate them being in the top 10
Well,
when
let's
the
talk.
rankings
Let's
come
talk.
out.
Let's talk about that in the Colorado game. Like, what did you see?
I saw
Because
a lot of offense.
I only watched like the first half of the game where USC was up by I want to say like 3.5 scores, and then
You
I
know what I
left.
saw?
What?
I saw the 2018 Oklahoma Sooners.
Who were the
That's what I saw.
2018? Who were the 28? Was that Kyler's team?
That was Kyler's team when they
Mm.
just got absolutely clapped by Bama in the was it the Orange Bowl? I think it was the Orange Bowl in the playoff.
I thought they lost to LSU in the playoff.
No, that was with Jalen.
You're right. Kyler did lose to Bama.
Yeah, Kyler lost to Bama in the Orange Bowl, and then
Yeah.
the next year Jalen lost to LSU in the I think it might have been the Peach Bowl.
Well, didn't Kyler also put up like 400 yards in that loss?
Yeah, the offense still like
He had. I want to
blew the
say.
doors out, but
I
you can't. Oh my gosh! Like that's the thing with Lincoln Riley is okay. His offense is predicated on momentum.
uh,
So once you pick that momentum up, like he just keeps going. He keeps going at you. He keeps going at you. But his issue is he doesn't have a defense to sustain that. So that's what you saw in that Colorado game over the weekend. You saw the momentum just flat out ball the first half. They were up what 41-7, I think.
let me see. Let
I
me
think
pull
it
up
was
the box
41 to
score.
7 at the end of the first half. But the issue is then you go into halftime and you start slowing down. You try to run the clock out. But Colorado is not in that same mindset. Colorado is in the mindset of, man, we got to score right now. We got to score fast. And USC, Lincoln Riley in general, does not have the defense to handle that. So if you want to employ that type of defense, then you have to have your foot on the gas on offense all 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Because
So
the second you let off of it, like I said, it's built on momentum. So the second you let off and you get a comfortable lead, there's no getting that momentum back. And that's
yeah,
exactly what you saw. They only scored 7 points in the second half.
yeah. I'm looking at the box score right now, and USC was up. They outscored Colorado by 20 in the first half, so they went up by 20 going into
Okay.
halftime, and then Colorado outscored USC by 14 in the second half, which is why they
Yeah.
ended up only losing by 7. So, damn, bro. Or actually, I mean, they outscored them by 13, but it may as well be 14. I don't know what happened there. I didn't see that. I guess the third quarter. Dude, I forgot what I was doing. I was watching like the whole first part of that game, and then I was also switching between that and like the A&M Arkansas game and some of the other games that were on. And then I
The
remember
Georgia
turning,
Auburn game was on too.
yeah, and then I remember coming back, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Yeah, it was when I Facetimed. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like Colorado just came back. Like
Yeah,
they put up they put up 41 points on them,
yeah,
and Oregon gave up 6
yeah.
to Colorado.
If that's
I,
not a, I. That's why I said some shit like that. That was outlandish. Like, oh, Lincoln Riley's fucking Alex Grinch's wife. Like, he's had him on for how many years now on his staff?
I don't know, like at least like
I
what,
think
like 6 years.
almost 5 years. I think he was with at Oklahoma for 3 years. Grinch was, and now this is his second year with USC. So he's been on staff with Lincoln Riley for almost 5 years.
Well, what did Alex Grinch do before Oklahoma? Where was he?
He before Oklahoma, he was at Ohio State. He was the co-defensive coordinator with Ohio State, and they hated him, so they fired him.
Oh, so he got let go.
Yeah, he was fired from Ohio State because of poor performance.
Huh.
And I had one of my really close family friends reach out to me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Oklahoma's getting like an Ohio State defensive coordinator." I was like, I mean, this was 5, 6 years ago. Like I didn't know any better. So I was super excited. And then my family friend, he called me and he was like, "Don't get too excited. There's a reason we fired him."
Well, dude,
Um,
I feel like people put way too much weight on where someone has been, like in the past, like
yeah,
what programs they've been with, to I guess gauge whether or not they're going to be good with you. Because I mean, and maybe this, if Texas ends up being really good, then it'll age well with Sark, right? But like let's go
yeah.
pre 2023. Like Sark, what hasn't been good, right, at Texas up until this season. We'll see how this season pans out. And Sark was an Alabama guy. Sark was like, wasn't he OC at Alabama for like a couple years? Like he's from the Nick Saban tree.
I mean, it was. I don't. I hate saying that because he was at USC and then he was fired from USC for drink. Like he did some crazy stuff at USC. Um, like he was a straight up alcoholic. Drinking at practice and stuff like that. Yeah, it was terrible. But
I'm trying
then
to
Nick
think of who
Saban is the one
else.
that like gave him a second chance. So yeah, he was OC with Nick Saban for either 1 or 2 years. I can't remember. And then that's when Texas hired him. He's
Dude,
been dog shit up until. I want to go back a little bit to Oklahoma. Did you watch any of that game, or were you
uh-uh.
at the TCU game?
I don't think I watched like much of Oklahoma. I was just checking the score periodically and
Okay.
was seeing Oklahoma was destroying them. But outside of that, I didn't see too much.
So I'll say this: the one thing that I am worried about going into the Red River Rivalry game is Oklahoma's running game. Um, dude, I for the life of me, I can't figure out why we're still running with Marcus Major.
Is that the
He,
starting running back right now?
if that's what you want to call him, sure, but he's averaging like 2.9 yards per carry.
Marcus Major. Oh wow, he hasn't broken 200 yards yet.
No, that's what I'm saying. And we have two guys that are elite behind him, Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk. I think Javante is going through something right now. I think he's got like a slight injury. But Gavin Sawchuk is a dog. Braden, he's from Littleton. He went to the same high school that Christian McCaffrey went to. And
Shout
he's
out to the
elite.
polite Theo Vaughn.
Sophisticated Theo. Uh, but yeah, um, I just can't for the life of me understand why we're not running with him more. Why we're not running with him more. Tawi Walker has looked fantastic for Oklahoma, and he's a walk on,
Well,
and
who
he's
is
looked
it? What is
really
that?
good at the
Is he a
running game.
receiver?
No, he's a running back.
Okay.
Every single running back that we have played has looked better than Marcus Major, and Jeff Levy continues to throw and run him out there. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. Because he doesn't. This is the thing, is I like Oklahoma fans are really big Marcus Major fans because he's gone through a lot. He's had some injuries. And I have a feeling that this is like this staff maybe kind of throwing him a bone and being like, hey, we're giving you X amount of games to go out there and show us and prove to us that you can still do this. Because when he was a sophomore, we were looking at him like, oh man, like this guy could be really good. But then he had some injuries, then he had some more injuries, then he came back, and then he had some more injuries. And he's been healthy this season. So I think that like with this being his last year of eligibility, I think the staff might be kind of throwing him a bone. But now it's put you in a position where he's the only running back that has gotten significant touches going into the Texas game. And none of our running backs have broken 200 yards on the season. So we don't have a running back that's in rhythm right now.
I think it. I mean, yeah, it's probably what you were saying. Like it's just it's probably because he's a senior and they're just trying to give him his touches before he goes out. So
yeah, but wouldn't you want to have a running back that's in rhythm going into the arguably the biggest game of the season?
yes, dude, but it's also something that we've seen so many times from so many different coaches is them just giving the nod to like whoever's the senior or junior just because they want to do it for the sake of like experience, even if that doesn't pay off. Like Kendre Miller didn't really even get a shot until last year at TCU when he was finally a senior. And like he should have arguably been given a shot.
Well.
Huh?
But Kendre played well.
No. But I'm saying, well, I'm using the other side of the argument. Like Kendre should have arguably been playing, like since he was a sophomore, like more. But it was just because we had dudes like Zach Evans, who was like the 5-star recruit. Of course, he was going to get more touches up until he finally got injured and then fucking stopped playing. He got hurt, and then he also like started begging for like $8,000 to $10,000 a week before even NIL was a thing. And like that kept Kendre from getting touches. And I'm just like, that's what I'm saying is like, this is something we've seen before, like coaches giving preference to like whoever is just like the senior at the time. I mean, even last year when Kendre was a senior, like we had, dude, and Manny Bailey was on TCU's team last year. He didn't get that many touches, and it was just because Kendre was there. But Manny Bailey, in my opinion, might be as good, if not even better than Kendre Miller in a year. I don't know about right now yet, just because I don't know how bad this TCU team is. Not good. We know we're not good. But, dude, we're fucking trash. I mean, Jesus Christ.
We've seen better days. That's
Absolute garbage, bro. I don't even want to talk too much about the TCU game just because it was so depressing. But, I mean, just for the sake of, like, our 20 to 25 listeners wanting to, see one of us be miserable, sure, I'll fucking recap a little bit of it. Yeah, dude, miserable fucking game. Like, we literally I was telling you earlier, bro, we got shut out in the second half. We put up 21 in the first half, which isn't like insane, but it's like, all right, like if we double that in the second half, we scored 42, and that's a good day. And I thought Chandler Morris was doing a really good job in the first half. And the O-line just kind of collapsed in on itself, like stopped protecting him. The play calling wasn't there. He had to be on the run like every play or every other play at least, which, I mean, then he started losing momentum because he wasn't finding people. He was trying to force some shit. I don't put much of the loss on him though. I think his O-line really just fucked him over.
The O-line looked bad. It looked
Dude,
poor.
We can't block teddy bears. Like it was so pitiful. I really have never seen such a big collapse. Dude, for a game that's like in your control, because that whole game, if you were watching that, I wasn't nervous. I've been much more nervous for other opponents in other games, and I was never nervous, like even though it was a 7-point game at half, because I was like, we look good. We just need to clean a couple things and we'll run away with it. And we just collapsed. Like we just collapsed to a team that we should have been beating. Like I'll give West Virginia credit because now they're 4-1, but at the same time, it's West Virginia. It's not Oklahoma. Yeah. It's not like one of the other. It's not fucking Penn State. It's not like an actual top 15 or even top 25 team, in my opinion. So like that's a game that you
Shouldn't
could
have
be.
lost to West Virginia. Just period.
Yeah, you don't lose to West Virginia, especially not when they in a year where they're not supposed to be that good. Like I don't know what they were predicted to finish, but especially not at home, bro. And like,
I think they actually do have quite a bit of returning talent. I'm not gonna
dude, West
lie, but yeah,
Virginia?
in in Fort Worth, that can't happen.
No,
I
dude.
mean,
And Manny Bailey also like he was fucked by his O line too. He went from averaging like 6 yards a carry to like 2.5 yesterday. I think. Like I don't know what he was at. It was not that good. Um, we just couldn't block teddy bears, bro. There was like this is the most amount of times I've seen Chandler ever get sacked. Another thing too, bro. Griffin Kell, who's usually the most reliable dude on the team, he went 17 of 19 last year. Like to put this into perspective, he missed 2 field goals all last year. He missed 3 last night, and 2 of them. One of them I must have been drunk because I didn't even know it was 3. Like I thought he missed 2. Apparently he missed 3, but um, 2 of them like he just didn't get height on it and he just booted it and they both got blocked. Like it wasn't pretty. So oh man, it was a tough day, bro. It was fucking Kennedy Collins was texting me and ranting about the
you
game.
told me about this.
Yeah, bro. She texted me and she was like, "Bro, like someone needs to like check in on his home life. Like is everything okay?" he literally, bro. He missed 2 kicks all last year, and now he's like 53% on the year. Like he's missed a couple now.
Jesus.
Like he has taken like
Yeah, I remember
dude.
he played really well last. I mean, the kicking game like wasn't an issue for TCU last year. I mean, just look at the Baylor game from last year.
No, dude, it's never been an issue with Griffin Kell up until fucking
No.
this year. Let me pull
So
up his. He's
yeah, the
yeah.
fact that he's playing poorly right now is one of the most surprising things to me about TCU. Um,
Okay, so I,
yeah.
I will say this just to like be a little bit fair to him. He's missed 2 kicks that are from 40 to 49 and 4 that are 50 plus. Those are the ones he's missed. Like he hasn't missed anything close range. But even then, like the
Hmm.
dude has been known to drill them from at least 40 to 49. And last night
What's
he
his
just
high?
huh?
What's his high?
His career actually he hit his career long this season in like the when we played Nickel State. It was a 57 yarder. And he drilled it. He drilled a 57 yarder. He probably would have made it probably would have been good from like 62 or 63, but after
Damn.
that like he's just not being as consistent I guess from that range. So it's tough. On the year he's 7 of 13, so he's like barely above 50%. Anyways, yeah, I said I didn't want to talk too much about this TCU game and Cal, but whatever. I just did
We won't. We
anyways.
won't.
We'll move on
Well, then
to another game. I don't
let's
want to
talk
talk about that bullshit.
let's talk a little bit about. I know you mentioned you had a Heisman list that you wanted to go over. Why don't we go over the list that you put together? I'll give you some feedback, and then maybe we hop into a little bit of Bozo Tracker.
Yeah. I think so. Again, just like I said earlier, my list is of 6 different. They're all quarterbacks. Like I don't know if I've seen anyone else like in a different position really like
Mm-hmm.
burst into the Heisman conversation. But I want to say for the most part, this is probably whatever every other media outlet would have with every other person that has been looking at these players would say. Um, in no particular order, I have Michael Penix. I have Penix, Michael Penix.
Michael Fairness.
Who last night it wasn't like the greatest day, but they beat Arizona 31-24. He went 30 of 40 for 363. But I did see this like crazy stat, if I still have it in front of me, that Michael Payne he's averaging just
Michael
short.
Fairness.
He's averaging just short of 400 passing yards a game. So I think for that, like he's gotta be like
Yeah.
in most people's top threes at least for that, maybe even
Yeah.
top 2
I agree.
guaranteed. I've also got Caleb Williams, who they beat Colorado 48-41, but he himself went 30 of 40 for 400 yards, 6 tubs, 1 pick. And one stat I saw about him was this this was his 6th career game with 5+ touchdowns, like passing touchdowns. And so he's leading the country, like all active quarterbacks in the country, in games with 5 or more passing touchdowns. Bo Nix, they destroyed Stanford. He went 27 of 32, 290 for 4 touchdowns. I've got Jaden Daniels, even though LSU lost to Ole Miss, he still went 27 of 36 for
Yeah, dude, he went off.
yeah, bro. 27 of 36, 414, 4 touchdowns. And then he also rushed for 99 yards and 1 touchdown. So he had 5 total touchdowns and 515 yards of total offense. I mentioned Dylan Gabriel earlier. I have him in there. He went 26, 39, 368, 3 tubs, 1 pick. And then he rushed for another 2 touchdowns for 40 yards. And then Quinn Ewers. We could talk a little bit about Texas if we want, but they ended up pulling away from Kansas in the second half. He went 25 of 35, 325, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and then he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 40 total rushing yards. So I mean, he did all right. Like I think he's done enough to like keep himself in that conversation. Like I'm still not buying the idea of him being in New York at the end of the season,
I
depending
don't
on.
either.
I
I did after the Bama game.
I think if it's 3 that get invited to New York, I don't buy the fact that Quinn Ewers will be one of those. I think one of those is going to be Caleb
No.
Williams. No, I think one of those is Caleb Williams, no matter how good USC does, just because
I agree.
Caleb Williams is going to throw up like video game numbers the whole season. One of those other ones is probably going to be between like Bo Nix and Michael Pennis, depending on who does a better job. So that's 2 spots right there. And I think Jaden Daniels could.
No, I think that is the third. No, I think that is the 3 spots. I think it's going to be Michael Penix, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix.
Yeah, there's been some other people on the periphery. I mean, like JJ McCarthy, he hasn't really impressed me that much, if I'm being honest. I'm trying to think of who else.
Jordan Travis, maybe.
Jordan Travis, I think he had a bye week this week, so we didn't really get to see him. I think if Cam Rising would have started this year healthy, and who knows if he'll
100%.
I don't know if he'll even come back and be what he was, because like it's hard to come back from that type of injury, but he probably would have been in that conversation. But yeah, dude, I don't know if I feel like Ewers will be in the top 3. Like by the time people are catching invites to New York, I could eat my words, and that's fine. I'm not scared of the Bozo tracker. If Quinn Ewers gets an invite to New York, and God forbid he win a Heisman, good for him. Like, cool. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I buy it just yet. Like, I'd like to see him continue to just put up these numbers like deep into the season, because it's tough to beat Oklahoma. It's tough to like continue to putting those numbers in November, like regardless of who you're playing in November. I don't give a shit. I know how inconsistent he can be. I think it's gonna bite him in the ass at some point.
I just still don't. I texted you this the other day, or just literally just yesterday. Texas is better than what they've been in the past. Clearly. But I hesitate to say this. I still am not 100% bought in on them. And I'll be fair, and I'll say I'm still not 100% bought in on Oklahoma either right now. I think that there are some things that Oklahoma needs to fix in the trenches, mainly on the offensive line. And I think that there's a couple of things on defense, very, very minor, that need to be fixed. But I look at Texas, and I see a lot of the similar things, like some O-line issues. Quinn Ewers and Dylan Gabriel are kind of similar in the fact that they're really, really solid in the pocket, and they're really solid, on these 10, 15-yard throws, these out routes, these dump offs, curls. I mean, they're really good. They're really good in the red zone. But, man, they both have gotten knocks for their deep ball. Like, Oklahoma and Texas look like very, very similar teams right now. If we're being honest, outside the run game, Texas probably has us beat in the run game right now. but that's just because I don't think Jeff Levy knows what he's doing with the game right now.
I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma and Texas are closer to each other than Texas is to the likes of Georgia and Michigan. I'll put it that way. Like, I know Texas is the number 3 team in the country, but I think they're closer to Oklahoma than they are to those 2 other teams. And who knows? There's probably some teams behind them that could beat them, because the way I see it is, do I really think, like, if you're ranking Texas number 3, that would mean, do you really think there's only 2 teams in the country that beat them on a neutral field? Because I think there's probably 8. That would still make Texas a top 10 team. But I think on a neutral field, I think Georgia would beat them. I think Michigan probably beats them. I think Ohio State could beat them. I think Oregon could beat them. Washington could maybe beat them. Fucking
Florida State could hang
Florida
with them.
State could hang a bunch of points on them. Like, I think there's more than just 2 teams that beat Texas on a neutral field. And that's why I don't necessarily buy their hype, because their hype is saying this is the 3rd best team in the country, right? Like, that's what the polls say. The polls say that's the 3rd best team in the country. I buy into the hype that they're probably a top 10 team. Like, I've probably come to that stage of acceptance, right? But I don't know if there's only 2 teams that beat them. And Oklahoma is probably in the same boat, but Oklahoma's I think they're underranked. I think there's probably 7 to 10 teams. Like, I'd have to like look at all these teams, on a case by case basis. But I think that's probably the amount of teams that could maybe beat Oklahoma on a neutral field. The same amount that would beat Texas. So that's why I say I think they're probably closer to each other than Texas is to like actually being like a championship caliber team.
Yeah.
I hope I'm right on that. Like, if I end up being wrong and Texas goes 13-0, which would mean they beat Oklahoma twice, and then they just walk into the playoff at the number 1 and number 2 seed, then I'm eating my words. But I don't know, man. There's just so many different variables. And then you're also looking at the state of the Big 12, and the Big 12 is like, it's garbage right now. Like, no one else is good. No one. Like, I don't see a single team outside of Texas and OU that has a shot at even being an Alamo Bowl caliber team, bro. Like,
no.
Outside of those 2 teams that are looking the best right now, like Kansas, I guess, could have been in that, but they just got destroyed by Texas. K-State lost to Mizzou. TCU's looking like shit. Tech, whatever hype they had, I know before the season that we picked them to go like 10-2. I think they're like 1-3 or 1-4 now. I don't. Did they win yesterday?
No, I don't think they did.
I know Baylor. I know like Baylor's terrible, and UCF lost to Baylor. UCF had like a huge lead on Baylor.
Oh, Texas Tech did win. I guess they did win.
Who they beat, though?
Hold on. They beat Houston.
Jesus, Houston's terrible though. Like it's just
and they allowed 28.
It's just homeless people beating on each other, bro. Like, it's just normally like you give the Big 12 a little bit more credit because it's like, all right, like there's some decent teams, but the only reason they're not like there's not that many ranked teams is because it's a round robin league. Everyone plays each other, so you're gonna get cannibalization. But looking at it this year, bro, everyone is just trash. Like, everyone is just
the Big 12 is not good.
And it's the worst year for that to happen, too, because it's the year before Texas and OU leave. And, I mean, had it been last year or even the year before, it would have been perfect timing because the last 2 Big 12 championship games, neither OU or Texas is featured. And it's been 4 of the teams that are staying that were all there, like, playing for those chip games. But this year, it's awful, bro. Like, I mean... fuck it. Like, I mean, shit. Yeah, the Big 12's trash, bro. Like, it's garbage right now. Like, everyone's just fucking awful this year. Everyone.
Yeah, they're outside of Oklahoma and Texas. It's a toss up.
Yeah, that's the only thing that worries me though, bro. Is like, who's gonna be that team? Like, we're used to like Texas dropping the games that they should drop, but this year it's like now everyone's like
I don't see one of those teams that can drop either Oklahoma or TCU.
that's what I'm
Or, I'm not sorry,
saying.
not TCU, Oklahoma or Texas.
That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like we know that Texas should drop games to the like teams that they should beat, but in other years those teams were better, right? Than what they are right now.
Like Iowa State.
Like now,
Oklahoma just shut them out in the second half and won by 30 yesterday.
like let me put I'm gonna put it in this perspective. OU and Texas, the rest of the year they play Iowa State. That's essentially what's gonna happen, bro. They're gonna play an Iowa State caliber team every week. That's it.
Pretty much.
I mean, the Iowa State that you usually know, the teams that go like 7-5 or 8-4, at worst, that's who they get to play every week because none of these teams are fucking good.
Well, actually, not Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma still has BYU.
That's Iowa State as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's in Utah.
I let me look at Utah's schedule. Like what's their record?
No, not Utah.
Sorry, not Utah.
I said
BYU schedule.
Yeah, the game is in Utah. The game is at BYU.
All right, so BYU
is 4-1.
They barely beat Cincinnati. They lost to Kansas. They beat Arkansas. Arkansas's trash. Arkansas just got handled by A&M. Do you know Arkansas also statistically has the second worst O-line in the SEC? Like they have one of the worst O-lines I've ever seen. KJ Jefferson couldn't do shit yesterday. Yeah, bro. BYU beat Sam Houston 14-0. I don't think that team gives OU any trouble. And if they do give them any trouble, then that's when you should worry as an OU fan of like, oh fuck, like
probably
if OU sneaks into a New Year's 6, but is like barely scrapes by those teams, then it's like a thing to worry about. I don't think that'll happen. I think they get handled, but whatever. I mean, damn, bro. Yeah, just the Big 12's not good.
No, it's not. Well, I think that we should hop into a little Bozo tracker, give our picks, and
this is probably a good time for me to maybe share.
Yeah.
We've got a couple updates. So 6 of 6, Chase went last week with his picks. Very impressive, low key, but unfortunately because he's a bad promoter and he also blacked out last night, and spent this morning, I guess, just hunched over the toilet. Apparently, he has nullified his 6 out of 6 picks, and he picked up 4 Bozo points today. And then I believe this week you and I both went 4 of 6 because I think the games that ended up costing us, I think Oregon State won, and then Tennessee beat South Carolina, and I think you picked South Carolina. We can actually like go back and look. Yeah, I picked LSU, so I picked up an L there. No one really lost points on USC and Notre Dame, Oklahoma. Looking at our guest tracker, Hunter did pretty good himself. I think he went 6 of 6 as well.
He did.
Braden, shout out Hunter. Braden, also I think went 4 for 6 because LSU and Utah lost, and then Parker. What did Parker
went 5 for 6?
Parker went 5 for 6. So I mean, pretty decent performances from everyone all around. But yeah, going back to the Bozo tracker, unfortunately, Chase still in the lead with 13. Good job, Chase. Shout out, Chase.
It looks good this week.
And then Cole and I are treading right behind him with 8 and 7. So yeah, good, decent week for the Bozos, I guess. And like no one really did terrible and go with like 1 for 6. Then again, we all kind of had the same picks, but
yeah, except Chase just completely blacked out last night. And our supposed guest today blacked out last night, I guess.
Yeah, we'll make sure that next week whoever we have on as a guest isn't blacking out and not showing up the morning up. But anyway, do we want to start talking a little bit about some of the like picks for next week?
Let's give our picks out.
We can also just bounce around. So week 6 picks. We've got a couple interesting ones. I ended up including the opening lines for some of these. just to give, I guess, a little bit of like context into what, most people betting on the game are feeling. Um, First off, I know we just talked a little bit about this matchup, but haven't really dived into it. Oklahoma, Texas, Red River game. Cole, how are we feeling? What do you think is the key to victory for Oklahoma, and what do you think needs to happen? Because we already know who you're going with, so I'd love to just dig into your brain.
Yeah, I'm not gonna stray away from Oklahoma. I can't do that. Boomer Sooner all day long. Um, in my eyes, the key to victory is gonna be it's gonna be in the trenches. I think Oklahoma's defense has been stifling. They've been really, really, really good through 5 weeks, and I think that if they keep that up, I think that we're gonna win the game. Um, Oklahoma needs to get their running game going though.
Mm-hmm.
And I touched on it before. Marcus Major ain't it. I love Marcus Major. He's a great dude. Everybody in Norman loves him, but he's getting a bad rap right now because Jeff Levy keeps on throwing him out there, and the dude's averaging 2.9 yards per carry, I think. And we've got two guys behind him, Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk, that are elite, that we know can perform well. I think that Oklahoma needs to lean on Gavin Sawchuk next week because I do think Javante Barnes is a little banged up. I think they need to lean on Gavin Sawchuk, and I think they need to go back to a zone run scheme. Um, I think that's going to be the key. I'm not worried about the passing game. Dylan Gabriel looks like a Heisman candidate. He's throwing the ball just accurate as hell. Andrell Anthony looks like one of the top wide receivers in college football. Nick Anderson is breaking onto the scene. He's going to be one of the top wide receivers in college football in the next 2 years, probably in the next year. He already is. I believe he's leading the team in touchdowns. I think he has 5 through 5 games, or 6 through 5 games. I'm not worried about the passing game for Oklahoma at all. That's going to be there. They're going to be dominant. I think that the defense, I think that they're going to play fantastic again. I think that Danny Stutzman needs to have a big game. And I think that Oklahoma can win this game.
I've
I also think this can win this game. I'll be honest. It's going to be a really good game. I'm not going to be too worried if Oklahoma loses as long as it's a close game because something tells me Oklahoma's going to be able to get revenge in the Big 12 championship game.
this
And same with Texas. If Texas loses, they're going to be able to get revenge in the Big 12 championship game.
this
These teams will meet twice.
Yeah, no, I think we can, for the most part, agree that they'll probably end up playing together twice. It's more so just about like who's got matchup one and then who's got matchup number two,
Yep.
which is the more important one. But what I was about to say is because I feel like you might be a little bit more knowledgeable on this, on like just the Red River game. But is this like the highest ranked the two teams have been like in a head-to-head
Since
match?
2011.
Since 2011. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say. I only asked because I get the feeling that this is probably gonna be one of the better like Red River games that we've seen in a long time. I don't see anyone blowing each other out. Like I don't see the anomaly that was last year happening again for Oklahoma because I mean, like we all know it was an anomaly like in the rivalry. Like that doesn't happen in Red River. Like
Well, we
usually.
also didn't have a quarterback.
No, you didn't have a quarterback, and you were essentially playing a running back at quarterback. Is what happened?
We ran the Wildcat the entire game.
Yes,
Davis Bevel threw like 4 passes.
yeah, but yeah. Back to like the game itself. I don't see that happening. Dylan Gabriel's healthy this time around. Dylan Gabriel is on a roll this time around. Quinn Ewers is on a roll this time around too. Like even last year, they didn't beat Bama. This year they did beat Bama, and now they have that momentum rolling into this game. So I think I think it is going to be a toss-up. I think it is going to be a 50-50 game. I think it's up for grabs. But I definitely think that Oklahoma has last year's result in mind. They're motivated. I think this might be where Texas finally like hits their first like roadblock, because I was thinking about this last night as I was like pondering like what am I going to say like to justify the pick that I'm going to make, and I haven't even made it yet, but this will give you some like an idea of which way I'm leaning. I think that Oklahoma would beat Alabama right now. I think Alabama's still a decent team. I like what they've done the last 2 weeks. I like how they handled Ole Miss, and like got Milroe back in there. I don't even think Milroe had that great of a game yesterday. I think he threw for 100 yards or something. And I was like, man, I think OU would be able to beat Bama. So like what's stopping them from beating Texas, right? Like I know Texas beat Bama, but just to put it into perspective, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think they're closer to each other than Texas is to the rest. But the line, I think, was only -4.5 Texas. I'm picking OU, dude. I think this is like the first time that Texas will stumble this year. If they do, they may as well also go on to go 11-1, and then they get that rematch that you were talking about. But I just have a feeling that Oklahoma has been slept on. They've kind of gone under the radar. I know like that's how you like it. Like you want it to continue being that way. It probably won't be that way if Oklahoma does beat Texas, because then they'll start getting those like number 4 and number 5 rankings.
If Oklahoma wins this weekend, they'll move up to be a top 5 team in the country.
I believe so as well. Just because they'll want yeah.
Let me throw this out there real quick. Before I say this, I'll ask you, who do you think has the better offense, Oklahoma or Texas?
I think right now, as it stands, the more consistent offense is probably, I don't know about consistency, but I'll just say the better overall offense that I would want right now, I think, is Oklahoma. By a hair, though. Like, it's not like, oh, yeah, for sure. Because I also recognize that Texas has really fucking good running backs. They have A.D. Mitchell. They have Xavier Worthy. They have really fucking good weapons. And Quinn Ewers and his O-line, like, together, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Like, when he has a really good O-line and he has time to throw, he looks great. But from the few games that I've seen Oklahoma play in, like, I really like how dynamic everyone is. I like the looks that, like, Dylan Gabriel gives you. Like, I just like it feels like a traditional Oklahoma offense, right? So I've said this in the past. That's what I usually like. That's why I enjoy watching Oklahoma play most years. But
let me throw this stat at you. Yesterday was the first time Texas surpassed 40 points. Oklahoma has dropped 350 burgers on the season so far.
Yeah.
And outside of Bama, the competition has been pretty similar. I mean, Texas beat Rice 37-10, struggled in the first half.
Yeah.
Texas beat Wyoming 31-10, struggled in the first half.
Yeah.
Baylor, they beat Baylor 38-6. That was probably their best. Alabama was their best game, but against Kansas, it was a 10-point game after the first half.
Yeah, we've definitely gotten that their MO is being.
Oklahoma has consistently been. Their offense has been consistent. I mean, outside of the Cincinnati game, I mean, it was 20-6, but that game we left a lot of points on the board. I think we left like 17 to 24 points on the board. Oklahoma dropped 50 yesterday. They dropped 66 on Tulsa, and they dropped 73 on Arkansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma has been handling their opponents as they should.
Yeah.
And that's not to say Texas hasn't as well, but Oklahoma has had the more dynamic offense, I think, without a running game. Imagine Oklahoma gets a running game going.
Yeah. I like
They're averaging over 45 points per game right now.
I like them. I don't know if this is just biased because I hate Texas, but I truly believe that Oklahoma can win this game. I think there's a couple variables, and the more important ones for me at least are the fact that They probably have last year's result in mind. They look better. They're just a better team than they were last year. And I really like how consistent OU's been. Like they haven't really had like a huge.
They have.
They haven't really.
I mean, they slipped in the first half against Iowa State twice. They had two blown plays, but outside of those, they fixed them like that. They fixed them, and then they shut Iowa State out in the second half. They were dominant.
Yeah, I think
they've been dominant on defense every single game.
Yeah, it looks like both of us are taking OU for this game. I guess we'll see what Chase and the rest of the boys who they end up riding with for the Red River game. But we'll leave it at that for that game. Next matchup we have. This one is kind of interesting because LSU's lost 2 games now. LSU -8 favorites at Mizzou. And I don't know what they are in the new rankings this week, but LSU, in the last week's rankings, number 13 LSU and number 23 Mizzou.
This is an interesting game for me because I'm not a big Mizzou fan right now. I think I touched on that a little bit about that Williams-Nwaneri and the NIL deal when we had Braden on. I'm not a Mizzou fan right now. I just don't like them. But they're playing really well right now. And LSU is, granted, they had a really good second half against Ole Miss the other day. I mean, they were in the game. They almost won. I think I got to go Mizzou. Because this game is in Missouri,
It's
isn't
in
it?
Missouri. It's in Missouri.
I got to go Mizzou. I think that this is a big turning point for Missouri. I think that their fan base is going to show out. I think that it's going to be loud. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be a one-score game. I think I got to go Mizzou.
Mizzou's interesting because like there's flashes of
extremely.
Yeah, like they're an interesting team, and like especially after they beat K-State on that walk-off 61-yarder. They went on to beat Memphis by 7, and then they beat Vanderbilt by 17 yesterday. They're a good football team. I think it's also another toss-up in my opinion. And the reason I say that, it could just be because like I don't watch either of the teams like religiously, so like I don't have as good of an idea as maybe like Mizzou and LSU fans have. But I think even though LSU has lost 2 now, they lost to FSU and then they lost by 6 to Ole Miss yesterday. I'm still a believer in Jaden Daniels. I really think I don't think that LSU is going to be a New Year's 6 caliber team without him, but with him though, I think that he could like turn it around for them. We'll see like what win total they end up at, like whether that's not 8, 9, 10, like whatever. But I'm still a believer in them, and so for that reason, I'm rolling with LSU. I think Jaden Daniels is going to come in, and I think just like him, like it'll be probably be a good close game. But I think because of him, like he will probably like carry LSU right over the line. So, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
But it looks like that was our first split of the day. The third matchup we got, this one's kind of interesting too. Number 12 Alabama in last week's poll at Texas A&M, who will probably be ranked now after they beat Arkansas in Jerry World. The opening line for that game is Alabama -7.5. That's an interesting one, bro. Like, and I don't want to say my pick yet, but it's a
No. I've gone first. It is a trap.
It is a trap,
and that's why I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to make my pick right now. I think I know who I'm gonna pick, but I'm a little hesitant. Who you go first this time?
I actually had my pick this morning, and then I changed my mind about 30 minutes before we hopped on. Dude, it's a tough one.
I've gone back and forth on it in the past 45
seconds. I've gone back and forth on this like for the better part of like actually a week, because I knew this was going to be one of our featured matchups that I wanted to have on. And the game's in College Station. Like A&M, that's a notoriously like hard place to play at, like College Station.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the loudest like environments in all of college football, especially when big teams like Alabama come into town. They've beaten them before, I'm pretty sure. A&M actually should have beat them last year, I think, in Tuscaloosa. And I think the only reason they didn't is because they fucked it up at the goal line, or like Jimbo had a terrible play call. I forgot what exactly happened, but it was kind of like they choked it and they should have beat Alabama. This year, this is interesting because you have A&M who's 4-1 now. The only team they've lost to is a decent Miami team. Like Miami's a legit team. Like I was kind of gassing them up after they beat A&M, and I mean they've gone on to like continue to look good. A&M handled
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas yesterday. I don't think Arkansas is that great. Um, here's a big variable for me though. Texas A&M lost their starting quarterback. So Weigman, he was like playing lights out, gets hurt. Yesterday they ended up playing with this kid Max Johnson. He ended up having like a pretty good game from what I saw at least. But I think that's going to be the difference in this year's game, bro. Like I think Connor Weigman. I was going to go with A&M, bro, and I think Connor Weigman.
I agree. I
I,
think that if he was, do we know for sure he's not going to
I
play?
don't think he's playing. Okay. Oh shit. Well, fuck. Is that going to impact our picks now? But let's find out. Let me just make a quick Google search. But I will go on record and
Okay,
say if Connor Weigman isn't starting, I'm going with Alabama.
Alabama.
I don't know like how long he's out for. Yeah,
Yeah, he's out for the
season.
year.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
out
we
for the
don't have to worry
season.
about that messing with our pick then. Yeah, I think he was. I think he was that difference maker for A&M. I think I was going to maybe lean towards A&M because I'm not high on Alabama. I don't. I don't. I think Alabama is a good football team, but we've talked about this for so many weeks. I don't think Alabama is the Alabama that we're used to. I think they're a pretty solid top 15 team, and they'll probably stay top 12, top 13 for the entirety of the year. But I don't buy them that much. But that being said, I think it's a big blow to lose your starting quarterback. And it's a tough one, man. But I'm going Alabama. I think it just comes down to that injury. I think that's probably why the line is like -7.5 or whatever it is. It might have been closer if Wagman wasn't injured, but it is what it is.
Yeah, oh man, that's freaking tough, dude.
It is though.
Yeah, I got to go Alabama.
Yeah, I'm not big on Alabama this year.
Hey, hold on a second. Hold on.
What you get? What?
Okay, Carter is texting me right. He finally just texted me back. Let me read you. Shout out Carter. He texted me back. He goes, "Hey man, I just got up and I have work today, but I cannot hop on the pod after a USC football week like that. Once we beat Notre Dame, I'm down, but I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I can."
Yeah, so I guess Carter doesn't want to come on because Carter doesn't want to come on because he's scared that word like Lincoln Riley's about to get torched in front of his face.
Just because he is.
What happens when they lose? Wait, you said
Oh my
he said he's
god.
down to come on after they played Notre Dame.
He said after we beat
What
Notre Dame.
happens?
I'm like, you're not going to
What
beat
happens
Notre
when Sam? I was
Dame.
gonna say what happens when Sam Hartman drops a deuce on them.
Oh my
Which, by the way,
gosh.
he was like he was almost in my top 6 for these Heisman picks. The only reason he wasn't was because I think he only threw for like 150 or something this week. Like it wasn't great, but I still believe in Sam Hartman, and I believe. Actually, I'm not even gonna make the pick because that'll probably be a featured matchup in the future. But whatever. Anyways, bro, like shout out Carter.
That was
But
funny. Yeah, shout out Carter.
all right, fourth pick. These last 3 picks, none of them are ranked, I don't think, but the lines are pretty close, and I think they can make for some interesting
Okay,
games. UCF at
cool.
Kansas. Kansas is only -3.5. What are you feeling?
I'll be honest, outside of the Texas game yesterday, I haven't watched Kansas that much.
They
Um,
got clapped.
but they played well in the first half. Um, like they played decent in the first half. They just got They got outplayed in the second half. They're clearly a inferior team to Texas. I I gotta go. I'm gonna have to go Kansas on that. Where is it?
It's I believe it's at Kansas.
Is it? So it's in Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go. I don't believe that much in UCF, especially after what they just did yesterday, allowing Baylor of all teams. Baylor looks terrible this year, and they let Baylor come back. What 28 points?
It was like 28
Yeah,
or 30, dude. It was bad.
Kansas.
UCF was like they
Yeah,
had the choke
Kansas.
yesterday. I mean, to lose to that Baylor team in that fashion, like choking that big of a lead to that bad of a team that's just awful. I'm also going Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas.
I'm also going Kansas just because I think even though they got handled yesterday, I think they have a difference maker in Jalen Daniels in some of those close games that they'll like have against like the other middle.
Hopefully he's
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully
true.
he's
That's
back.
true because I don't think he was suited up, was he?
I want to throw this out there. Texas has yet to play
Like a good quarterback.
a good quarterback.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, they played Jalen Milrow, but
No, I don't think anyone.
I don't
I
know
don't
if you
think
want to
anyone's
consider
going to
him a
argue
good
that Jalen
quarterback.
Milrow is one of the best quarterbacks.
That's the only starter that they've played. That's the only starting quarterback that Texas has played
They
against
will
this
not
year.
play a like a really, really, really good quarterback unless Dylan Gabriel ends up falling into that category. Outside of him, they're not going to play anyone until they get to postseason. Yeah. But anyways, going back to the game, I'm also going
No.
KU. I think even though they got handled, they've still got like a pretty okay, decent middle of the pack Big 12 team. UCF, I'm not that high on them. Like they just lost that lead to a terrible Baylor team, I think, and they're also playing in Kansas, so I'm going Kansas as well.
I actually still think even after yesterday, Kansas is still the third best team in the Big 12.
I think it'll be between K-State and them, and maybe someone else will sneak in there. We'll see.
What, West Virginia?
Well, West Virginia's 4-1 now, so I guess we'll see. But all right. Anyways, the fourth matchup, Texas Tech -2.5 at Baylor. This is just a battle of two homeless dudes fighting each other with sticks, bro. Like it's not even mid versus mid. It's just shit versus shit. That's why I picked that matchup, bro.
Why did we pick this matchup? They're both doggy.
Exactly, because Tech is only -2.5, and they're both awful.
Where's the game?
The game's in Waco. I don't think that matters.
Uh,
Actually, there might be more Tech fans at that game.
Yeah, Tech. I'll go with Tech because I think that yesterday was a fluke for Baylor. I mean, the fact that they made that kind of comeback, I don't think that that's indicative of their overall strength. I think that just goes to show how weak the Big 12 is and how porous these new teams are, like Cincinnati and UCF. Yeah, I Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm actually going Baylor on this one. Dude, I'm going to go Baylor on this one just because I was about to say something like they have this player that's a difference maker. They don't have anybody who's a fucking difference maker. I mean,
I don't think anyone.
I don't think either of these teams have anyone on their team who's a difference maker or like I don't.
It's just going to be who doesn't suck.
But the only I think Texas Tech lost their starting quarterback. I haven't watched them. I've only seen the results. I've only seen that they look really dog shit. Baylor, I've barely watched them. I know that they're dog shit too from when they were barely beating the Long Island University Sharks, and then they got fucking handled by Texas State at home. But I'm going Baylor just because, like, fuck it. Like, it's two idiots, two homeless dudes just fighting each other with sticks. And I don't know. I just think Tech is that much more shit than everyone thinks they are. And I think Baylor is too. But, I mean, whatever. It's a toss-up. I'll go Baylor for this one. You'll go Tech. We'll see where everyone else falls on it. The last matchup we got is Colorado -6 at Arizona State.
They're -6 in that
That's the
game.
opening line at least. I could see it
Where's the game?
at Arizona State.
Dude, I might try to go to that game.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a huge prime tax.
No, Emma, she gets free
Oh well,
tickets.
if she gets free tickets, you should definitely go. Yeah, that game is at 5:30 next week in at Arizona State.
Oh, M's not even here. You want to go?
Do I want to go to the Arizona State Colorado game, bro? Bro, I don't know if
Yeah,
I could buy a flight out on 1 week's notice.
you could come out because M's not even gonna be here.
Nah, I'm good. I don't want to go see fucking Colorado. I need to save money too, bro. I don't
Baby.
have money to just.
Yeah, I'll take Colorado in that game. I think that's going to be the one of the few games left on their schedule that they can
Ah,
that they can win.
damn, bro. This is where I don't. This is where I'm at with Colorado. Is like, are they just gonna like? No, I don't think they'll like wither like little bitches. Like I think they'll. I mean
Mm-mm.
they came back against USC. I mean they almost made a comeback. I don't think they'll wither. It's just
If they would have gotten that onside kick, I think that they would have
outside of
won.
USC and Colorado though. This is their biggest challenge. Or sorry, outside of USC and Oregon, this is their biggest challenge up to date of like the beatable teams. Um,
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be hot.
I'll take
It's
Colorado.
probably gonna be hot. Yeah, I don't think they'll wither. I think I'm taking Colorado as well for that one. Well, fuck it. I'll take them to get a little bounce back win. Why not?
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
So to recap, we both went OU. I went LSU. You went Mizzou. We both went Bama. We both went KU. You went Tech. I went Baylor, and then we both went Colorado. So we'll see where everyone else falls on some of these games. I think some people might take Texas. Some people might take Texas A&M.
Hmm.
Maybe some other people
Yep.
will take who was the KU matchup against UCF. So hopefully we get a little bit of variability amongst the boys. But yeah, that wraps up our pick segment.
Tub of the week.
Ah, dude, fuck, bro.
I was gonna say you don't have too much to celebrate
I
right
have
now, do you,
fucking
buddy?
nothing to celebrate. Fucking shit. I don't know, dude.
What about Connor? Does Connor have anything to celebrate right
No,
now?
dude, Connor's been out of the game for a minute. He hasn't even announced when his next fight is, bro. So we'll see. But I don't know. Tub of the week. I got to hang out, I guess, with Diego again for a little bit. You know, little monotone kid. Shout out Diego. Shout out Diego. We may have to get you on the pod just because we need that just dry humor personality on here. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much outside of that. Work's been good. I'm just, posted up at home and chilling.
I think mine is we finally got a. So I know I've mentioned we just moved into a new place. We finally got a couch, and I'm happy because I was able to sit and relax on the couch yesterday, watch Oklahoma take care of business. I was able to watch some other games. Caught a little bit of the Georgia Auburn game. The end of that game was fantastic. Brock Bowers, real quick, best tight end in
Oh
college
my
football.
god, he's so good.
And he should undoubtedly be at least a top 10 pick
Yeah.
next year, or like in this upcoming draft. Undoubtedly should be a top 10
Yep.
pick. Uh, but yeah, I would say, man, I'm so happy we got a new couch because I was needing that. I was just standing watching TV or like using this chair right here, rolling it into the living room, watching TV. But then Oklahoma took care of business. I'm happy. Oklahoma's 5-0. I have a feeling that we might be a top 10 team uh, when the rankings come out. And I'm happy about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it's Texas Hate Week. It's Texas Hate Week. Fuck Texas. BMFS.
Yeah. I think I also think OU will probably be a top 10 team. We'll see. If they're not, they'll at least be 11 or just 10 on the dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that wraps up another episode. So I want to say week 5 of college football now wrapped up. Was it week 5? Yeah.
Yeah, that was week
Yes, it
5.
was. Week 5 of college football wrapped up.
Episode 6.
We've got some exciting games next week. Probably the one we'll be looking out for the most is that Red River game. We'll find out next week if we're a bunch of fucking dumbasses or if we were right and if Oklahoma does end up beating Texas in this game. So if you've been with us, if you've still been listening with us up until now, definitely want to say thank you. Also, make sure to throw us a follow.
We appreciate
you. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram at the Rub and Tubs Podcast. That is our handle, isn't it?
Actually, it's just
Rub and
Tubs
Rub and Tubs Pod is on Instagram. You can find us there, steadily growing the engagement there. We're also on Spotify, Apple Music, so make sure to check out past episodes. But we'll be back next week to dive into some week 6 of college football.
And we're going to be getting a TikTok put together pretty soon.
Yes.
So when we get that together, we'll make sure that everyone starts following us on TikTok. Throw some clips. We might even be throwing like some exclusive content that might not make it into 100%. The episode. Might throw it onto the TikTok or something like that. So
right on.
Week 6 or episode 6.
Episode 6. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Lord,